excited. If you're just joining us, I'm here with Susan Allen. She is a medium and psychic and animal communicator. Tell people, what is the difference? Because I have my own way of thinking, but I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you see as the difference between a psychic and a medium?
Oh, okay. I love that. Oh, that's a good question. I like to go medium. And the difference in the both is that when you're mediumistically communicating, you feel different, and I go higher up because I'm trying to get the messages, as you know, from your loved ones, ancestors, spirit guides. And because I feel like it's the purest information for me. Although I get emails that say that, the stuff I say psychically is happening for people, which I love, but I always like to use spirit first, because I learned early on spirit doesn't lie. And I think you and I had that little talk about how spirit is here for our highest good, and they generally will give pure information for us and our souls to move forward. Mm-hmm. So a psychic, not that I think a good psychic is amazing. I love psychics. But it's my intuition. I'm using my own intuition coming through and like seeing things. Like I could see something. I see future events. Sometimes I see, and it depends on the sitter, as you know, like if the soul is ready to hear the things that are happening. I never give out I've never said anything negative to somebody except when they needed some growth, mm-hmm. For their soul. Or have to move through things. But my readings are not like, oh, do you see him breaking up with me? It's like, no, I see that this happens and that happens. Like there's a movement. It's like, it's like a symphony with people's lives. It's not so, cut and dry. And I think that people want like immediate answers. And I think my readings, how I feel that people walk away with feeling some healing. Or when I go to spirit and I ask for the mediumship, I ask for the soul's highest and best, and mm-hmm. my guides to work with their guides before every reading. I have a tendency to feel that spirit always answers what they need. So at the end of the reading, I'm like, do you have any questions? And people are usually like, no, actually you touched on everything. And so I just trust the process that spirit knows what that person needs or what that person's asking for.
Right. So guys, welcome. So I think we're kind of have built our audience. Hi to everybody that has joined us. If you're joining us, if you found this link on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or wherever we put it out there. So we're happy to be here. I'm here with Susan Allen, who is a medium, psychic, and animal communicator. And we are going to do some live readings today, which is going to be super exciting. And I know that we're really looking forward to doing that with you. So really excited. Susan, just for some people that are just joining us, can you give your website one more time?
Sure. SusanAllenMedium.com.
Wonderful. So you can connect with Susan there. And I think after you listen to our interview and things like that, and listen to her readings, you'll probably want to connect with her. So Susan, what we're doing with the YouTube lives is I'm interviewing people a little bit more in an interview style, and we're really getting to know mediums and psychics and healers at a deeper level. And I'm probably even going to expand and have other people, friends, people that have interesting lives, and we're going to do some in-depth interviews and just have fun and really get to know people. Because sometimes we don't, Susan's been on several of my Facebook lives, but and I know a lot about her from, working with her and things, but it's always nice to kind of do a little bit more of an in-depth interview and things, and really get to know somebody. So Susan, tell me a little bit about yourself for those who don't know. Where were you born? Where did you come from? What was your, what tell me about the beginning.
That's a great question. Brooklyn, New York. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. Right. I was born in a very religious Jewish neighborhood, and we were like the only Italian family left on the block. So already I never fit in. Right?
Right.
The odd man out. And always trying to fit in, you know, to that culture, but I never really quite fit in because it was an ultra Orthodox Jewish community.
Mhm.
And then I could remember my mother wanting to move to an island, like get out of Brooklyn and move. And so we moved to a place called Staten Island, which I know people have heard of.
Mhm.
And I started it, I just always was different. My mother would call me like this hypersensitive kid, but you know, and then I came out to Southern California as a 15-year-old and fell in love with the animals and the weather. And I said to my mom, I'm going to move to California and you should come with me. And she never wanted to move here. And eventually I ended up here alone by myself in 1995. And this, I really feel like this is home. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So tell me, growing up, because many people have, you know, people come into mediumship in different ways. Some people
Yes.
train into it. Some people have a near-death experience. Some people are natural mediums.
Right.
Looking back on your life, when did you first have a psychic or mediumistic experience?
I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but my older brother, I feel like he's the one that raised me because he was the one who always would come get me in my crib and feed me and change my diaper. He said that he came into my room and I was laughing and giggling, and I was 3 or 4, no religious background yet, no religious tendencies or anything. And he walked in on me and he said, Susie, who are you talking to? And I said, the Blessed Mother, which is like, now he tells me, you know,
Right,
fast
right,
forward 50 years, he's telling me this now. So I was like, and he said that it scared him. And then as a 5-year-old, I knew my mother would pass with cancer, my natural mother. But I didn't know what cancer was, but I felt every emotion that I had
Mm.
later in life when she got cancer when I was 23. It was very weird that I could have those feelings at such a young age, you know, the same feelings that I would have when she was diagnosed. It was very, and then to talk to my brother and hear him say that, and the mystics really happened for me, having a very troubled childhood, but I had a grandfather that was very religious in Catholicism, and I adored him, and he spoke broken English. And he loved telling me the stories of the saints and the miracles. And I was hooked. I mean, I was like, oh, and I just could feel my vibration like raised as a child. And that's kind of how it all started. You know, I feel it started really young. And then my relationship with animals was different, you know, very different. You know, deer would come out of the woods when I'd be walking and come follow me around like the Pied Piper. It was very interesting. And my parents were, you know, working class and busy, and they would just look at me like the odd child. You know?
If you guys are just joining us, this is Thomas Shawn, and I'm here with Susan Allen. Susan Allen is a medium and a psychic, and we're doing an in-depth sort of interview about her, just everything, talking about her childhood and getting to know people on a deeper level. And then a little bit later, we're actually going to do some live readings. So if you'd like to have a reading with Susan or I, stick around, you know, because we're going to do that at some point. You can also go ahead, if you see that red button there, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. That way you'll get notifications every time I go live or post a new video, which I tend to try to do. And you can also go ahead and give it a thumbs up or a like as well. And if you would like to share this on your Facebook page or your Twitter page, you can click the share button right now, and that'll direct you how to share it on your page on Facebook or Twitter. And then you can invite your friends over here. We can have a big party. So, Susan, what was it like for you? Because I do know a little bit just from having done a reading for you. And about your mother dying and your mother. So
Oh,
you lost her early in life, correct?
I what?
You lost her earlier in your life?
Well, I kind of lost her initially. She really didn't want a baby,
Mhm,
another one.
mhm,
So she was kind of absent, but my brother raised me and took me to museums, and he was stellar in my life. And just, I would say to him, how do you know you're only 11 years older than me? And he goes, I just knew how to love you. Like,
mhm, yeah,
he was like a walk-in for me of pure love.
mhm,
And later in life, when I lost her, this is an amazing story. Like, I just poo-pooed all the intuition that I had. You got to work. It's like that mentality of people that I try to help, where it's like you work, you get a job. I mean, if it was up to my dad early in life, he wanted me to get a union job in New York dispensing opticals for the school district. This is because you have to have a job, you have to have and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when you have a different experience of life, which I always did, I came in this way. It doesn't really work out to put yourself in a box. And I kept boxing myself in and getting the jobs and not loving my jobs. But I remember about 6 months after my mother died, um, I had a boyfriend that ended up being a husband, and we were married for 13 years, and he was a very good person. And I was sick, and he said, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" And I said, "No, no, go. I don't want to go to the hospital." And I took some Advil, and I was starting to fall asleep. Only I was dying, and I heard my mother scream in my head. It's the middle of the winter in Brooklyn, New York, and I heard her say, "Get to the emergency room," screaming, and I went, "That's very odd." And I was still like not I wasn't connecting the dots.
mhm,
I love this work, but I wasn't connecting the dots. And I got to the emergency room, and they gave me my last rites, and they had to do an emergency procedure on me to save my life. And I thought, like, looking back, and like these little things were happening to me frequently. And I always had like these angelic people come into my life. And everyone that loves this work or feels that they were kind of like saved for something to
mhm,
help others, I feel as if there's a great line in a Tennessee Williams play, because I thought, oh, I think I'm supposed to do that, or I think I'm supposed to do this. So I studied acting and I studied literature, and none of it felt right.
mhm,
I never felt like I should be an actress, and it just didn't feel authentic.
mhm,
And I always relied on the kindness of strangers. It's really interesting. Like, I felt like I was always helped somehow. Like, I needed to move, and this girl said she would help me move, and then she wasn't available, and I really needed help right away to move. This is when I was really young, and somebody else popped up, and it was like, it was very synchronistic.
mhm,
And when I felt like I lived my life not so synchronistically until I healed all the stuff that I had to go through.
right.
Because by healing that stuff, I was able to allow and be present with something other than the monkey mind or the trauma mind. I was able to be present for spirit.
Mhm, yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, because in terms of, obviously, nobody goes to their guidance counselor and says, hey, I want to be a psychic or a medium.
Yeah.
So when you were sort of, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was what path were you on?
I thought I wanted to be an actor, and I started to get into acting when my mother got sick, and she was vehemently against it. She thought I was too sensitive, I couldn't handle it, and she was poo-pooing it. And I wasn't very good. I wasn't a good actress,
Mhm,
because I always felt like it was inauthentic.
mm,
And I remember my mother, sick with cancer, she'd be with me on an audition, and she was giving me line readings.
mhm,
It never felt like it was coming from me. I needed something that would come from me. And I was always loving psychics or mystics, or, you know, seeing a woman in New York, and I studied privately the higher arcana, the tarot, and painting my own deck. And I'd be with 3 other women in Manhattan in this woman's apartment. And she was like this famous mystic named Anne Levinson, and she lived on downtown Fifth Avenue. And I would like just love these meetings, you know, with her.
Yeah.
And I'd spend 2 hours a week with her. And it was, you know, I feel like all these little things were the foundation.
Yeah. When did because I know a big part of your work now is about animals.
Yeah.
And when did that piece become important in your life?
That piece became important in my life when I had my dog, Rosie. And I just, you know, I hadn't had a dog since my mom.
So growing up, you weren't really an animal person?
I didn't have a lot of animals, you know, being raised in Brooklyn. We always had dogs. We always had 2 dogs, and or 1 dog. We ended up with 1 dog. And when she passed away a year after my mom, I said, I can't do this. I can't do the dogs. But before I left that apartment in Brooklyn, I had 17 feral cats in the backyard. And I never saw myself as a cat lady, but my dad built a house to keep them warm. I asked him, could you make me a house? We put a drop light in it with insulation. And during the winter, cats that would ordinarily fight, they were all piled in this box, you know, under this heat lamp. It was really adorable. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I need to get these cats neutered, fixed, and get a home, because I'm moving to California. So I felt like that was my good karma, like my good animal karma. And then years later, I had a bone surgery. I had started with bone surgeries when I was 10, believe it or not, like what 10-year-old has to go through bone surgeries, but it led up to the person that I am. And I had this major bone surgery, and I thought, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I was selling real estate and I couldn't heal because I was so stressed out. And my brother, in his infinite wisdom, said to me, Susie, take a silly class online. But I had already been like this huge animal girl and lover of animals and pets. I didn't have a farm because I lived in Brooklyn. And I took an animal intuition class, and it was like a teleclass, you know, and the teacher would put up, and I kind of teach like this too when I do an animal intuition class. The teacher would put up a picture of a pet, and I should say, you know, meditate, let your weirdo go, relax, and just write what you get. And I was like writing volumes, and that's how my business really started. I would do it for friends and family, and then people were inundating me. And I knew so much, like details about this woman's pet. It sounded like a Disney movie. Like I never thought myself a writer. I am now, but people were calling me from the class for readings. A veterinarian called me. She was in the class, and I gave her readings. And I would literally, Thomas, I was so into making sure that I was specific and good and accurate. I would meditate for half an hour. I would journal on a pet photo for another half hour. And then I'd be on the phone with somebody for an hour. And I did this for 6 years. And then I said to Spirit, you know, I can't keep writing down. Like my hand is hurting. Like I have books and books and books filled with animal readings.
Wow.
And I said to Spirit, I can't, like, you have to figure out a better way to get this information to me, because this is like, I'm getting busier and I can't spend 3 hours with one client. Otherwise, forget this, you know?
Right.
But I loved it. And I remember my husband going, don't quit real estate. I mean, this is a little crazy. And I said, yeah, I agree with you. It is kind of crazy, but I love it. And I did it. And all of a sudden I didn't need the pen and paper anymore.
Right.
It would just be thoughts. And then I kind of started I was on the phone with this celebrity's girlfriend, and all of a sudden her father started to appear in the photo across the room from me. Like I didn't know it was her father. And I started to say, there's a man. And I didn't say he was in my photo with my dad, but I knew it was her dad because he was in the photo of me and my dad.
Mm.
And I said, this is what this man looks like. And he said he didn't get to say goodbye. And I said, he's very thin. And I said, and he has black glasses. And I said, I think it's your father. And she said, it's my father. And her father passed away at 6 a.m. in Manhattan during spin class. And he was ultra fit and he had a heart attack and he didn't get to say goodbye. And he was a big fashion designer. And so that's kind of how it really started. I was in animal mediumship. And then when I realized I'm getting dead people, I said to them, don't scare me. I have anxiety. Don't be walking through my house dead. If you
Right.
want me to do this work, like I would have a conversation in my head to spirit. If you want me to do this work, you know, give me the messages so you don't scare me and I could get the messages to them. And actually what's really weird is I'm a girl that always had major anxiety, panic attacks. I would get on a subway and I would just be completely drenched by the time I would get to New York. From
Right.
Brooklyn to New York or Staten Island, I would be like just saturated in so much sweat from so much anxiety because I was obviously doing things I wasn't supposed to do, like working in an office, you know.
Right.
And spirit is so good. It's so good because when I started doing spirit work, my anxiety, it has gotten, I mean, if I start to feel anxious at all, I just go into meditation now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I start talking to my spirit guides or my people, and I'm telling you, it's like it has healed me on so many levels doing this work. And I think like if anybody has the ability to do this work, and they think they love it, they should nurture it because
Yeah.
it's been amazing. It's better than anything I've ever done.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, what do you think are the biggest challenges that people in the mediumship world face? You know, people that are mediums. What? You know, if somebody was to say, you know, what are the things that as a medium make your life more challenging or obstacles that, I mean, are there anything that you would say, or is there anything that you don't like about being a medium?
Um, I wish, but it's not always like that because we're dealing with human beings that are scared and frightened and need answers. And sometimes I will get on the phone with somebody and say, but before anybody has a reading with me, if they've come through you referring me, they'll say, I've had a reading with Thomas John and he's amazing. And da, 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 da. And I'm like, I know he's amazing. I said, well, I read differently, or this is how I read, you know, and all that. But the biggest challenge is usually when people can't relax enough, and for me to get the messages out to them because they're frantic about getting their questions answered right away.
Right.
Well, what's going to happen with my? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, what is he coming back? I haven't slept, or am I getting the job? And I get it. And the only thing that I could say is it doesn't happen all the time. Like I've been very lucky in that everybody has their own favorite medium. There's plenty of people, and somebody will gravitate to me that won't gravitate to medium somebody else. And everybody will have the right medium. You just have to trust, you know, that that's the right medium. And then usually I don't run into tons of those problems. I had, you know, certain people call me and want right away psychic. And I prefer to go mediumistic at first and then like feel my way and roll into all the psychic questions because spirit generally answers the psychic questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell me with your work, and if you guys are just joining us, this is Thomas John, and you are tuning in to us through YouTube. We're on YouTube Live on the Thomas John channel with Susan Allen, who is a medium, psychic, animal communicator. And we are talking about just, mediumistic, psychic things. And we're in a little bit here going to start and talk about, we're actually going to do some readings. And so if you're interested in having a reading with us, and I'm going to let Susan do most of the reading, but I might chime in or something like that. What I'm going to do is I just put a link into the chat. And what you're going to do is you're going to click through on that link. It's going to take you in through Zoom, and we're going to pick the people through there. It's just easier because that way we can see you, and it's the best way to kind of bring you in. So I just put that into chat. And like I said, if you want to just click in through there, and then you'll be brought in to the Zoom. And then when we're ready to go to the readings, we'll pick people off of there. Susan, tell me, a lot of people will talk about this, and this is one of my favorite questions to ask fellow mediums or psychics. A lot of people want to get more connected to their loved ones, feel their loved ones more, get signs. What are the things that you feel you can do? Just a lay person, not somebody that has any special gifts or abilities or anything like that, though I believe we're all gifted with intuition.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things that people can do to enhance that connection to the spirit world?
Well, that was what my last newsletter was about. I just love this topic because people say, I'm not getting signs. My father died and I was so close to him and I'm not getting signs. And I'm like, the best way to start your intuitive process to connect is ask for little things. Like I talked about, it sounds so trivial, Thomas, but a parking spot when you turn the corner. I used to do that as a kid, when I was going in Manhattan to all the discos. I would turn the corner and want a spot right in front because I was in high heels. And I would think, I would do this thing where I put my fingers, okay, spirit, like I'm 17 years old. Will you please get me a spot? And I'd get a spot right in front. Wow. And I would test my intuition like that, but telepathically, when people get on the phone with me and they have the best readings of their lives, I'm blown away at how these messages come in for them like that. It's because they have an ongoing talk with their loved ones all the time. I said, did you talk to these 3 people when you came in? Oh yeah, I talk to them every day.
Wow.
So it's like they're here to help assist and guide you and protect you. Mm-hmm. That is the major thing, that when my mother crossed over, she became an angel in heaven. When my father crossed over, when my sister crossed over, I have a team. So as a lot of us have had people that have had so much tremendous loss in their lives, I try to help people raise their vibration enough to know that they are not alone. I mean, I remember once I had a reading and I felt like an orphan here. I felt like, who do I have? My dog. Right. And I felt so alone. And I went to a medium and my mom came right in and she said, tell her she's not alone. Oh, is that amazing? We're all here for her. We're all watching over her. She has a family. It was like, oh my God. Yeah. So I just feel like that connection is so strong. That love never dies. That love bond that you have, whether it's for a pet or a person or a loved one or, a lover or a husband, whatever, that love is still so strong. It's the one thing that we can hold on to is the love. That's why love heals. It's love does heal. When people love you, you get a healing. When you're being loved, you get healed. And love is the most powerful thing. And hurt people hurt other people, as you know. Mm-hmm. So going through life and having some of the experiences that I've had, I realized it made me who I am. It opened up my third eye. It helped me become much more sensitive. And the people that really helped me and that were there for me and the things that they said, people, the gurus of the world, like the Wayne Dyers of the world and his writings, And when I met him, it was life-changing. Those people that really have helped me with their words, or the mediums that helped me with their words of love and light, is love. That's love, because spirit is communicating to that medium to help shore you up and make you feel like you're not alone, and you're not walking in this life alone.
That makes